The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, today on Aging Horizons we have a really fun and special show for you. We're going to be talking about service dogs and veterans and how much that can help a veteran get through some of those invisible wounds. That animal-person connection is fabulous and we want to really share a lot with you. So we have a great guest with us and a very special guest. Stay with us.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Receiving help for Ella has been life-changing, and the best word for it is relief. I was the therapist, I was the aide, and I couldn't be the mom because emotionally you're just to your wits' end, you're trying to survive.
I provide care for the Harrises, specifically their daughter Ella. Respite care is extremely challenging, but the rewards that you receive from it are 100 times more than working with a child that doesn't have special needs. Once they get something, it's everything. It's a you celebrate. You don't just enjoy those moments. You celebrate every moment that you get, that you guided them to that next step.
Respite. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. Will you provide it? Call 800-224-6034 or visit respite.mt.gov.
It went from survival to enjoying life and being able to be a mom again.
Brought to you by the Montana Broadcasters and this station.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Kim Yeverman, and like I said in the open, we have a real fun show today. We're going to be talking about veterans and service dogs and how important of a thing that can be for a person with especially an invisible wound. We have with us today Dee Dee Baker, and Dee Dee, you're the founder and executive director of Dog Tag Buddies, and we have Birdie as well. A little 12-week-old lab. Thank you for, we all wanted you to bring her, so we're really glad that you did. So let's start out with just talking about your mission, your vision, your values, because, you know, I spent some time looking at your sort of backstory, and it's really interesting. I want to talk about it a bit. So just start with that.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure.
So Dog Tag Buddies, our primary mission is to provide veterans who have hidden injuries with rescue dogs to improve their quality of life through training and ongoing support.
Right.
And at the end of the day, what that means is we're trying to give our veterans a new mission. When they come back from whatever campaign they've served in, we had veterans that weren't even able to leave their house to go to the grocery store. We want to be able to give them back an opportunity to live their lives to the fullest, rather than having to deal with the invisible injuries in a way that, you know, there's all kinds of different treatment modalities, and a service dog is just one of those, and they work in conjunction with other treatment modalities. It's not the end-all to be-all answer.
But let's be real clear for our audience also that we're talking about service dogs today, not emotional support dogs.
Correct.
So because there's a huge difference, as we all know, and we want to make sure that we're real clear about that. What's the vision that goes along with this?
So our vision is we strive to create a healthier community, improve mental health, and reduce suicide by serving those who served us. And we believe in that vision because at the end of the day, a lot of the veterans that we deal with are experiencing suicidal ideation on a daily basis. And how do we help them? And for a lot of our veterans, a dog can be that answer.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you mentioned that you're giving back a mission in some regards to that veteran. Those veterans, when they're in training, that's their main objective, is to get through a mission successfully. Yep. And when they come back out, it can be hard to break those maybe mind habits, and they really do need something that they can use to get them out into the community. And I think, like you said, it improves mental health, it improves your health. I know that I have a much better health situation because I'm walking my dog more these days. And that's what a veteran can do with one of these dogs and get out into their neighborhood, etc.
And we look at it too as not only is it for the veteran, it's for their families. If we can help our veterans have a better day because they're working with a dog or they've got a service dog, then they become better spouses, they become better family members, better parents, more engaged in their community. I have veterans that before they started our program, they weren't able to go to their kids' events because it was too much for them. And I had a call from one of my veterans in February, and his perspective on it was really interesting, but he called and he said, "Hey, my dog and I only made it through 2.5 games of my son's basketball tournament." And I said, "What do you mean you only made it through 2.5? He goes, "Well, we had to leave the last half of the game." And I said, "Wait a minute, you're telling me you sat through 2.5 out of 3 games?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "The last half, it just got too much." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing."
It's amazing.
Before that, he had not been able to participate and go to his kids' events. I mean, that's the kind of transformation that we're working with our veterans.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that when we talk about that, because I also I have a veteran spouse who has some of the invisible situations going on, and they're triggered by things that maybe don't make a lot of sense to you and I, but they certainly are meaningful to that veteran.
Absolutely.
Because they've had some experience that triggers them. I know we used to not be able to go to the movie theater because my husband couldn't have his back to where he couldn't see all the time where he was. And we were in the dark. And that might not seem possible to people who haven't experienced what our veterans have.
Absolutely.
But it's absolutely real. Absolutely. And I love your values: integrity, service, commitment, accountability, collaboration, and inclusion. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. We just have a minute or so left in this segment, Dee Dee. Just talk a little bit about who staffs the program, because this is a family situation, isn't it?
It really is. Myself, I am the executive director. My daughter is my operations director, and it wasn't a case of nepotism. She comes highly recommended.
Good.
She's got a business management degree. She spent 10 years working in the banking industry as a project manager. And so the skills that she brings to the table, not only is it personal for her and I, she's got the professional qualifications. She was a senior the year her dad went to Iraq. And so as a senior in high school, you have a different perspective on life. And for her, she fully understands the mission and what we're doing and how we're trying to do it. So having her be a part of it's really important. And then I have a lead trainer in Billings that works full time. And then I've got several part-time trainers throughout the state, as well as an administrative staff.
Super.
Making sure we can bring the program to our veterans.
Sure. Super. Well, I can't wait to hear more. And folks, we have a whole lot more to tell you. This is such an important connection for our veterans, for people in general, people and animals. It's a very important connection. And this way, we're in a way paying back our veterans for their service to us, because they certainly signed on the line and went. I always say, if they signed on the line, they are a lot braver than me. And so we really want to get engaged with this and make sure that we can make those Veterans Days better. We have more to tell you. Stay with us.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated. But know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
It's been 27 years. I never thought I'd still be smoking, but here I am, COPD and all. I'm about to have a granddaughter. There's so much to show her, but I'm scared I won't be able to keep up like I used to. I kind of gave up on myself on quitting. But it's different now. I want to be here for her and for my daughter.
When I stopped showing up, Jim showed up at my door. He took me to the hospital in town to get me help. That's the day Jim saved my life.
Everyone has a role to play in preventing suicide. Know the signs and don't be afraid to speak up. If someone you know is in crisis or emotional distress, the only wrong thing to say is nothing at all. Call 800-273-TALK or text MT to 741-741.
Every generation produces heroes, men and women who step forward to defend our country in time of need, no matter the personal cost to themselves. And though we can never fully repay them, we can make sure they have access to low-cost, long-term care when they need it. That's what Montana's Veterans Homes are all about. If you've got a hero in need in your family, call us. We can help.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here with Dee Dee Baker from Dog Tag Buddies and Birdie. Before we move on, Dee Dee, can we talk a little bit about how you developed this program to begin with? I mean, the impetus, I think, is quite interesting, so please fill us in.
So we talked about my daughter working for us.
Right.
And the reason this all came about was my husband served in the Montana National Guard for 21 years. He was supposed to retire at 20 years, which would have been the same time our daughter was graduating from high school, but he was in Iraq at that time. He had been mobilized and deployed in November of 2004. Our daughter graduated in May of 2005. So he was still in Iraq when that occurred. When he came home, there's always dates that stick in your mind.
Right.
And the date that sticks in mind most profoundly is February 12th of 2005. It was a Saturday. It was President's Day, and I got a call from him, and the first thing he said is, "Don't worry, everybody's okay."
Oh.
And so he proceeded to tell me that they had experienced an IED that had exploded off of the passenger side of his Humvee, that he was in the passenger seat, but everybody was okay. And as he walked me through that story and what had happened, he experienced multiple other IED explosions, either in close, not as close, but in close proximity. Plus, there were always mortar attacks, and just the things that you deal with in war.
Right.
And we were just starting to talk about PTS and the wounds of war. Every era of war has their shell shock.
Yep.
Some of the other names that come up, and PTS was just starting to be talked about, and we weren't ready for what that was. And so the first year back was really hard. We went through all kinds of appointments. We visited all kinds of different providers across the state of Montana, which that in itself was a challenge.
Right.
And I think the worst one was we met with a professional in Bozeman who said, "Oh yeah, you've got PTSD, don't worry about it, but we've got really good drugs. We can heat your brain up, we can cool it down, don't worry about it." And my husband, who can barely take an aspirin, said, "I don't think so." Yeah. And so we went home, and over a period of time, what I started watching was we had miniature schnauzers. What I was watching is when he was really having some challenges on a day-to-day basis, he would come in and he'd sit down with the dogs. And you could just watch, it's almost palpable when you watch somebody start interacting with a dog, and you can just watch them go.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, I kept watching that, and we obtained more dogs over a period of time, as people that love dogs do.
Sure.
And we had started volunteering with some of the local shelters and rescues, and it was just kind of one of those conversations where, it's like, I don't know if you recognize this, but there's a huge change in watching you interact with the dogs. And he agreed, and so we started talking about how can we help other veterans. And we were looking at it from the perspective of, we both love dogs, we both, for me, this is this is an opportunity for me to get to honor his service.
Absolutely.
It's a way for me to get to give back to other veterans, and it's a way for us to get to save some pretty cool dogs.
Yeah.
And so the dog part of it, the conversation was, as we're working with these shelters and rescues, we were seeing these dogs that were ending up there through no fault of their own.
Right.
You get this cute little 10-pound puppy at 8 weeks old, and at 6 months, this puppy weighs 60 pounds, and they're jumping, and they're nipping, and they're doing all these things. And all of a sudden, we just can't have a dog that jumps on the kids. Instead of training them, they were taking them to the shelter. So we started talking about how can we help other veterans. And the initial conversation was, we'll just help them train a well-behaved pet. We can do that. That'll be fun. And that was really where we started going. And then as we started talking about it, we started looking at different organizations across the country that were doing similar to what we are, but it wasn't. And I started reaching out to them because I thought, well, no need to reinvent the wheel. I had a career.
Right.
I'm not a dog trainer. I have a career.
You were already, yeah.
And so I reached out to other organizations, and I heard crickets, except for one organization that said, "You're not a dog trainer. Take your toys and go home." And I was like, well, that's
a line in the sand I'd have to cross.
Yeah, I did. Obviously, I did. So, we started putting in this organization together with the intention of how do we help our veterans. The service dog piece kind of came after the initial conversation, and it came about because we started talking to veterans who were like, I can't leave my house to go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
I can barely get in my car and drive across town because I'm afraid of what's going to happen to me. And so the service dog piece kind of started evolving organically. It was not what the intention was. And so, as we started building this program and started working with our veterans, realizing we needed to be better and we needed to do more, is where the service dog piece came.
Yeah.
So, for us, it really is, it's a family affair.
Yeah.
And it truly is a way for us to give back.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really loved that I read off on because you have a great website, is that you are doing training at both ends of the leash, which I think is just lovely. Will you just, in our last minute, just explain what that means?
So anytime you get a dog, the reality is the dogs are the easy part of the training.
Yeah.
The hard part is the human and helping them to learn to understand what it is their dog is telling them and what it is they need to do to help their dog exceed their expectations.
Right.
So it really is both of them.
Yes, and be obedient and do the things that you want them to do, because the dog's going to be happier. Right?
The human's going to be happier
well.
too.
Yeah.
Because consistency. It's really important for people to think about training as consistency. You've got to do the same thing the same way every time.
Right.
Because if you break the rules, the dog's going to go, well, you didn't make me do it that time, so you didn't really mean it. And that creates frustration. And especially when we're talking about veterans with PTS. They're used to being in command. They're used to being in charge. They're used to having, when you tell somebody to do something, they do it.
Right.
And when it comes to training dogs, there's a disconnect there that we've got to find a reconnect.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yes.
Well, I think this is great, and we have a whole lot more to tell you, folks. We really want you to be very well aware of what this program can do, and maybe you can engage and tap in. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Montana is getting back to life after COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine is the best way to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Sign up today to get your free COVID-19 vaccine. Visit covidvaccine.mt.gov.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992, and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef, and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
If the Aging Network in Montana was a restaurant, the sign out front would say, over 50 million meals served over the last 30 years. Since adequate nutrition is critical to health and quality of life, nutrition services are an important factor in keeping older Montanans healthy, independent, and living in their community and home. To find out more about senior nutrition programs in your area, call 1-800-551-3191.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Summer in Montana is a great time to visit your local farmers market. Enjoy the social atmosphere while shopping for a wide variety of fresh, locally grown produce. Together with both WIC and Senior Farmers Market nutrition programs, you help feed your family 5 or more daily servings of fruits and vegetables for better health. You also help local ag producers and enhance the state's economy. So, for summer fun that's nutritious and helps Montana's economy, shop at your local farmers market.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here with Dee Dee Baker today from Dog Tag Buddies and her little buddy, Birdie. It's nice to have you, Dee Dee.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us. So we've talked a whole lot about how your organization really was born and your mission and your vision. Let's talk now about the actual, what kind of services is a person going to find, is a veteran going to find if they reach out to you?
So veterans are accepted into our program through an application process, which they can find on our website. If they're accepted into the program, they're paired with a carefully chosen dog. They go through what's called the community training model. And what that means is the dog and the veteran go through the training together as a team. So once they're paired with that dog, they take that dog home and that dog becomes a part of their life every day. So the veteran goes through the training. In some cases, they might not need a service dog. They might just need a well-behaved pet. And we offer training to get them through that piece of it. We also advocate for our veterans and educate the public on what service dogs are, the rules and the laws regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as state laws. We also go out and help businesses understand what their rights and responsibilities are in terms of having dogs in their businesses. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what a service dog is and is not, and what a business can and cannot do. So we spend a lot of time trying to help educate so that we can advocate for our veterans when we need to. I'm a question, persuade, refer gatekeeper trainer. And what that is a suicide awareness training. That it's a very high level training, but it helps the everyday average person be able to have a conversation with somebody who might be experiencing a crisis. And I got into that because of the population that I work with. We talked initially.
Absolutely. The veterans, they have a big issue with that.
And when we talk about suicide in Montana, you know, we all know the statistics. We know we've been in the top 5 over the last 40 years. We know we rank incredibly high for not just death by suicide by our veterans, but also our youth. And, you know, as a state, as a whole, we need to be able to have those conversations. And so the QPR Gatekeeper training is it was a way for me to become more educated and to become more comfortable with having those conversations. So now it's a way for me to help others who may be either experiencing it or working with someone who might be at risk.
Absolutely, because I think what my main objective always is to get the stigma out of there.
Absolutely.
And let people know that it's no different than having diabetes or high blood pressure. It's the same thing, and you should reach out.
Yeah, you would treat that. Why would you not treat mental health?
Exactly.
And that's part of the conversation is how important it is that we destigmatize talking about it, that we destigmatize talking about the mental health of ourselves as well as others, and be okay having those conversations, because it's really hard for somebody to walk up to somebody, regardless of the relationship, and ask them, are you thinking about suicide? What's going on? Let's have this conversation. And that might not be exactly how they ask it, but asking is really hard. We're really uncomfortable with what if they say yes. So I want to be a part of helping people do that. So we go out and do the QPR training. It doesn't cost organizations anything for us to come and do that.
Yeah, and it's so important.
It really is.
And speaking of important, let's just chat a minute about why is this so important to the community, Dee Dee, to have this service for our veterans and to have folks like yourselves out there training service dogs?
I think I think for our veterans, making sure that they have a lot of different treatment options, because as I said earlier, a service dog isn't going to fix everything.
Right.
They're not going to be the only answer. If you're working with other treatment modalities, counseling, medication, seeing your physician on a regular basis, as well as a service dog, we're trying to help ensure that our veterans have a well-rounded opportunity to, again, re-engage with life, become more like they were before.
Right.
You know, we can't fix that, we can't change that, but what can we do to help them go forward? And I think for us as an organization, you know, building an organization on standards matters, making sure that when people see our dogs, whether they're in training or fully trained service dogs, that they know that that dog is going through training and that it has been trained. Too often we go out in public and it's really easy to get online and put a vest on your dog and call it a service dog. It's really easy to pay money to these scam websites that say, hey, answer these questions and we'll send you this kit that will make your dog a service dog. And my opinion is this: putting a vest on it does not make it a service dog. Our dogs go through hundreds of hours of training, hundreds. And you know, they're, for a service dog, the definition is they are trained tasks that are specific to the individual's disabilities.
And it's really important, I think, to, like you said, to build a practice on standards and to keep your bar high.
Yes.
Because it only advocates for other service animals and the veterans. So it's a really important thing, I think, to keep in mind. So let's just talk very quickly about how they get a hold of you.
They can reach out to us. Our contact information is on our website, which is dogtagbuddies.org.
Great website, by the way. I highly recommend it.
Thank you. So they can contact us either through a contact us form on the website. Our phone number is also listed, and they can call and we can answer any questions.
Okay. And you also, as you said, you're willing to talk with folks about doing companion type animals as well as the service animal. So maybe they don't need a whole, you know, maybe they don't need that much assistance. Maybe they just want a good doggy.
A well-behaved pet, And for us, you know, one of the other things that I would strongly encourage is if somebody's thinking about getting a service dog, please don't go out and get a dog. If you're really serious, reach out to, if it's not my organization, make it be another organization, but find out, because we all want to believe that our dogs are going to be perfect service dogs. And I have 4 dogs in my home, and there's not one of them I would look at and go,
yes,
let's make you a service dog.
Exactly. They do have to have the right personality.
Breed standard, you know, breed, what they were bred for, personality. And again, you can have a litter of 10 puppies and maybe only one of them is going to be a good fit.
Dee Dee, thank you so much for being with us and for bringing Birdie. Just adorable. And thanks for all your service. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.